That's what it's all about. Good friends, good jumps, and good times. When it's done right, there's nothing quite like skydiving. If you've completed your basic jump training, you're only a few steps away from joining in on fun dives like the one we've just seen. In this program, you'll learn how it's done, and after practicing the techniques with your instructor, you'll be ready to enter the exciting world of relative work. Notice that none of the skydivers seen here use the hard arch that you may have been trained to use. Now, there's nothing wrong with the hard arch. It's intended to provide stability in free fall, and that's what it does. Relative work, however, involves more than just maintaining stability. The key is to control your position relative to other jumpers. This control is best achieved with a slightly modified and more relaxed arch called the boxman. It's best to think of the boxman position as a collection of 7 angles. These 7 angles are divided into 2 categories: non-adjustable angles, shown here in red, and adjustable angles, shown here in green. The first and most important angle is the neck angle, which positions the head perpendicular to the torso, allowing visual contact with others. This visual communication is so critical that an experienced jumper learns to check his teammate's altimeter instead of his own to avoid even a brief lowering of the head. Many have discovered the benefits of the Ditter audible altimeter. This tiny device delivers a loud, clear reminder at a preset altitude. The other non-adjustable angles are the arm-torso angle, the elbow angle, and the thigh angle, each of which is positioned near 90 degrees. They're called non-adjustable angles because they never, ever change. Like the fixed wings and tail of an airplane, they make aerodynamic control possible. Quality sequential relative work depends on these angles remaining constant. Now let's take a look at the adjustable angles: the chest, the lower back angle, and the knee angle. When the adjustable angles are positioned as shown here, near 135 degrees for the chest and lower back angles, and near 90 degrees for the knees, they form the neutral position. All relative work, from the beginner dives you'll see here through the highest scoring competitive dives, is based on this neutral body position. But it's characterized by what it does as much as by how it looks, so we'll need to define it further. In neutral, the airflow over the surface of the body is symmetrical, meaning that it is the same on the right as on the left, and the same in back as in front. When this symmetry exists, a jumper falls straight down rather than at an angle. Neutral is also defined by staying on heading, meaning that the jumper isn't turning. Another characteristic of neutral is falling at a steady rate in the middle of the fall rate range. With the right jumpsuit, in the neutral position, a jumper will fall at about the same rate as any other jumper in the neutral position. The neutral boxman is also a position that's easy to take grips while in, and one that's easy to take grips on. But we should emphasize that no skydiver achieves neutral flight by trying to concentrate on 7 different angles at once. It's not something that's made to happen. Instead, it's something that's simply allowed to happen by relaxing into the air and letting the head, elbows, and knees blow back in the wind the way the hair does. This brings us to the first skydive of the program. In Dive 1, you work on flying in the boxman neutral position while your instructor flies around you, inspecting and perfecting your stance. Until your boxman position becomes second nature, Dive 1 should be repeated at the beginning of every training weekend. Or, if your drop zone offers higher jump altitudes, Dive 1 can be incorporated into the beginning of the other skydives. Having learned to hold still in terms of free fall's rate, trajectory, and heading, the next challenge is slow, controlled movement in any given direction. The first component we'll study is fall rate, or levels. The primary angle controlling fall rate is the lower back angle. Flattening the lower back's 135-degree neutral angle toward 180 slightly increases exposed surface area, causing a jumper to catch or cup more air. The result is a slower fall rate and an upward movement or translation relative to another jumper remaining in the neutral position. Sharpening the lower back angle toward 90 degrees slightly decreases exposed surface area, streamlining a jumper to spill more air. The result is a faster fall rate and a downward movement relative to another jumper in neutral. In Dive 2, your instructor hovers in front of you in the neutral position, serving as a point of reference while you slowly translate up and down. The goal here is to adjust only your lower back angle for a very slow but precise up and down movement. Remember to stay at all times in the box position. In Dive 3, you work to stay level with your instructor who offers minute level problems. The goal here is to avoid having to make fast corrections by anticipating the problems and compensating early so that the corrections themselves can be minor. In small groups, again with everyone in the proper suits, adjusting the lower back angle alone should be all that's necessary to correct for levels. But in larger groups, or when jumpsuits aren't so compatible, adjustments of the chest and knee angles must supplement those of the lower back. These secondary fall rate adjusters likewise add to or subtract from a jumper's exposed surface area. Flattening the chest's 135-degree neutral angle toward 180 and stretching the knee angle from its 90-degree neutral toward 135 drastically increases a jumper's surface area, resulting in a much slower fall rate and an even faster upward translation. Sharpening the chest angle toward 90 and tucking back the knee angle toward 45 drastically decreases a jumper's surface area, resulting in a much faster fall rate and an even faster relative drop. In Dive 4, you again work to stay level with your instructor, but this time by working your secondary fall rate adjustment angles into the movement as your instructor offers slightly more difficult level problems. The goal again is to avoid having to make fast corrections by anticipating the problems and compensating sooner. Care must be taken to add and subtract surface area symmetrically to keep all these ups and downs in a perfectly straight down fall. Also keep in mind that as more effort is put into adjusting adjustable angles, so must more effort be put into not adjusting the non-adjustable angles. The next movements we'll examine are forward and backward translation. Like the secondary fall rate adjustment techniques just covered, forward and backward are controlled by adjusting the chest and knee angles. But whereas fall rate control requires both angles to flatten or sharpen simultaneously, forward and back requires one angle to flatten while the other sharpens. For forward movement, the chest's neutral angle is sharpened while the knee's neutral angle is stretched. This subtracts surface area from the upper body while adding it to the lower body, causing the upper body to fall just slightly faster and therefore slightly lower, which sends more air out the back and results in a slow translation forward. For backward movement, the chest is flattened while the knees are tucked back. This causes the body to pitch head up, which sends more air out the front, resulting in a slow backslide. In either case, the overall addition of surface area at one end must equal the overall subtraction at the other for the movement to stay level with a person remaining in neutral. In Dive 5, your instructor again flies in the neutral position as a point of reference while you practice backing off and moving in. Take care not to focus on these new skills to the exclusion of those already developed. Flying in the box and staying level are still required at all times. We stated earlier that the overall addition and subtraction of surface area must be equal to remain level with someone hovering in neutral. But the fact is that skydives seldom stay at a constant neutral fall rate. To compensate, everyone must continually make fall rate adjustments, always with their lower backs, and often with their chests and knees while working on other maneuvers. In Dive 6, your instructor adds slight fall rate problems to the forward-backward drill. To move up while going forward, the added surface area of your shins and feet must exceed that taken away from your chest. Fall rate and forward-backward techniques are likewise combined to move down while going forward, or to move up or down while going back. This all may seem very complicated at first, but with practice, the necessary mental computing becomes automatic. The true challenge lies in keeping in mind at all times that basic body position is still our first priority, followed by staying level, and only then by the particulars of any task at hand. An example of such a task would be taking grips, which is the goal of Dive 7, where your instructor continues to present fall rate problems while you become responsible, on each forward move, for taking grips. Above all else, it's important at this stage to resist the temptation to reach in any way at all out of our boxman non-adjustable angles, which can only result in a time-consuming backslide. The next movement we'll examine is side-to-side translation. Like secondary fall rate and forward-backward techniques, flying sideways is also controlled by coordinated adjusting of the chest and knee angles. And, like forward and reverse, side-to-side requires some of these angles to be flattened while others are simultaneously sharpened. However, where forward-backward is regulated by the relationship between the upper and lower halves of the body, side slides are regulated by the relationship between the left and right halves of the body. To slide to the left side of the chest is tucked back along with the left knee, while the right side of the chest and the right knee's angles are flattened. This causes the left side of the body to fall slightly lower, which sends more air out the right side and results in a slow translation to the left. To slide to the right side is tucked back while the left side is flattened. In Dive 8, your instructor again flies neutral as a point of reference while you practice sliding from side to side. Remember again the importance of building skills on top of each other. Body position, levels, and distance from your instructor must all be maintained while sliding from